It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
And thank you for that great introduction as we continue to get you ready for the Friday night lights in and around the 32081. Right now, I would like to welcome the head coach of the Ponte Vedra Sharks, Coach Steve Price. Hi, Coach. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm pumped. I'm getting ready for the countdown. I'm watching everyone get ready for fall football. I'm ready for Friday Night Lights. Well, I guess you could say Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday Night Lights in this area with all the middle school and JV games we got going on. So I'm pumped up. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of the year for sure.
Absolutely. And I know you're getting ready to put the pads on. Let me ask you this. Last year, well, I know probably knowing you, you'd wish you would have gone a little bit deeper in the playoffs, but the Sharks had a good season. You guys did very well. I mean, with only 2 losses during the regular season, the Nice, and then that close game against Fleming Island. I remember talking to Drew Watson about that one and Brian Case. And then the 1-point loss in overtime to Niceville, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, I caught some slack from the Niceville fans on the podcast because I picked the Sharks to win that one. And they're like, check out this joker. I'm still standing. Even though you lost by 1 point, I think we should have won that game. But how much of a foundation for last season is it for this team, especially the freshmen that are now seniors? How big of a foundation is that for them to grow on going into this fall season?
Well, I think it certainly is some. You know, I think there's an expectation, like, you know, certain schools and certain communities, there's an expectation of wins, and that certainly does help. However, each year is in and of itself. You can't rely on what you did last year, and so I think there's some really good expectations. I think that our kids we've got some really good football players. We've got some great guys with great experience and all that. And I wouldn't trade any of that. But we also understand that none of those points carry over from last year to this year. You can't bank anything. You can't bank any effort or that. Like, it's all new, and you got to do it all this year the same. So I guess that's the approach. But I certainly am appreciative of last year's team and their work and effort, and they did a great job. It was a lot of fun to coach those guys, and we had a great time and a great run, and we're hoping that this is another great experience for our team this year. And what an honor to represent our community on Friday nights. That is it's a really cool deal.
Coach, I'd like to start out talking about the defense first, because I think this group could be pretty darn good this season. And I want to start talking about Finn Day, because when I first met Finn back, I think he was like in 8th grade. He was a wide receiver. Then he converted to safety. And then earlier this year, I ran into him, and he was out working with some quarterbacks. And I was like, hey, Finn, are you switching over to wide receiver back from safety? And he said, no, sir, I'm going after that interception record right now. So he goes, what better way to get some practice than working with these guys? I'm going, that kid's got some work ethic in him. He's really going after. He's got his goals for the interception record. So here's my question for you. What can you say about how Finn has taken on the challenge of, one, moving to safety, and I think he played very well there last year with the adjustment, but then also his work ethic and getting better at that position?
Yeah, one thing about Finn is he loves football, boy. He loves everything about it. He loves, being out there. I think he probably, out of the 24 hours or the 16 hours a day that he's awake, he probably thinks about football, at least 15 and a half of them. He is certainly a valuable member of our team. He works very, very hard. He has made us better as a team, and I look forward to him having a good, successful senior year.
Now, what people don't know about him off the field, he is a character, though. Off the field, he's got he is a character. So he's made me laugh a few times when I've talked to him. But then shifting up front, I know a lot of people might say there might be some losses on the defensive line, because obviously you have players like Robbie Greco, for example, and some others that moved on. However, when you look at this, you've got Reese Beck, who now is being looked at by a lot of major colleges. You've got Old Dominion recruit, a linebacker, Tellum Babin. This defense, how do you feel about them going in? Because it looks like your defensive line could wreak some havoc on the running game as well as the passing game for quarterbacks, and the linebacker core led kind of by Talon also, I think they could have a pretty good season.
Yeah, we feel really good. We had 6 defensive linemen that we rotated through last year that were really, really good players. Now, obviously we we lost to Riker Kemp and Robbie Greco and Martin Geary. Those guys were all phenomenal. They're all playing college football now. And but we do have, out of those 6, we do have Reese Beck and Christian Purnell and JP Dolan back, which are really, really good players. We're looking for some young guys to step up to help us with some depth on in those positions. I just, rushing the passer in football, I think might be the most grueling part of football these days. It's just chasing that quarterback play after play after play is, the more guys you can have play that position, the better. Play it effectively. Our linebacker position, I think, is really solid. Obviously, Talon Babin is a commitment to Old Dominion. Ethan Holmes has had a great spring and summer. Carter Otteson is a really, really good linebacker. Those guys have done a great job. And Cohen Kegley at the Sam linebacker. So, we feel really good about the linebackers. And then, of course, our secondary, we really like where we are with that, too, with both corners are coming back. We got another corner that is coming up from the JV squad. Trey Butts had a great summer at another corner. We'll probably move Davis Latina, who was a corner last year. He's probably going to become our rover. And then, obviously, Finn at the safety. So we feel really good about our defense. We're not incredibly deep, and I like to bring along some of those younger guys to really help with the depth. But that happens through the course of the year. Guys grow up and get better and become contributors.
So on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be a little bit weird not seeing Brian Case in the backfield. But losing a great leader like Brian, and also you have quarterback Drew Watson was the program. But you also have Cole Rosenthal that's been coming up through the program, so he knows the system. He's ready to go. And you also have a rising sophomore, I believe, in Carter Soul at the quarterback position. And your receivers come in with another year experience who played very well last year for you also in David Doherty, Jack Berquist. And so it looks like your passing game is solid. Not seeing Brian Case in the backfield, like I said, is going to be weird. How do you feel about being able to run the ball? And do you feel as good about your passing game as what I'm seeing with the returning wide receivers and your quarterback, Cole Rosenthal?
Yeah, we feel really good about our offense. First of all, our offensive line, 4 out of 5 of those guys come back, which is huge. We've got Dartmouth commitment at left tackle, Brody McLeod. Colin Butler, we've actually moved Colin Butler at guard, who is Colin's a great football player. Buzz Bunkowski will be at center. That is a really, really solid high school center. And then we've got a right tackle will be a new coming up from the JV, Sean Hassan, who's had a great summer. He's one that next year at this time everybody will be talking about. He's a tackle that's 6'7", 300 pounds. He's a really, 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 really good player. So those guys are all coming back. Jack Hughes is coming, he's a guard. So we feel really good about that. And, that group is so important. I did chuckle when somebody asked Jim Harbaugh, like, why they didn't draft a weapon in a certain round at the NFL draft this year. And they ended up drafting an offensive lineman, and his response was, well, we think those offensive linemen are weapons. Those are important guys, and people don't understand how important the offensive line is. But I think, because of them, I'm really excited about what we can do on offense. We've got a really good couple of running backs coming up from the JV team. Alex Winkles, he's been 2 years as a JV player that has really played well. He's gotten bigger and thicker, so I think he's going to do well. Nico Cipriani is another one that he'll be a sophomore, but incredibly talented young running back. So, I feel like our running game's in good position. And then we've got so many good wide receivers. You mentioned Jack and David. Those guys are really, really good players. Then we also have guys like Trent Player and Kay Turner and Tucker Henderson and Angelo Kekelik and We've got a Trey Smith and a Troy Smith, and there's just a lot of guys that are really, really good players there at wide receiver. Caleb Stanton's playing tight end, and there's a lot of things that we're going to do well on offense, and I'm excited about that.
So, Coach, let's talk. We talked defense, we talked offense, and let's talk special teams, because I think you have, if not the best, one of the top 2 kickers in St. Johns County and possibly Florida, in Noah Ash, Owen Carey being the other one over at Beachside. They'll probably be competing for the longest field goal, I think, this year. Anyone that's been following him, you will see that he's been having a tremendous summer. He's just getting better and better. Last year as a sophomore, I was really impressed with how poised he was and the kicks he made. How happy are you? You talk about having a weapon. How happy are you to have him as your kicker, your weapon, and how has he improved even since a great sophomore season?
Yeah, so he's had a great winter. He travels in this the Coles kicking circuit, and I think they currently have him as the number 1 kicker in his class in the nation. He's really got an incredibly powerful leg. He's just such a solid kid. Works hard in the weight room. He is a member of our team. Sometimes every once in a while those kickers, they end up being kind of their own little entity out to the side, but he is fully involved in our team. He has SEC offers for kicking. He's really, really talented, and he's just such a great athlete. When the chips are down, you want him in your corner. He performs very well. So, boy, in high school football, a great kicker is really, really an advantage. When you can kick off and put it in the end zone whenever you want to, and make them start at the 20-yard line, that's a huge advantage. Than having to kick off, and arguably it's usually the opponent's best player is going to be their kick returner a lot of times, and you got to defend 53 yards width of field and try to get that guy on the ground. Most high school coaches would rather just kick it in the end zone and give it to the other team on the 20. So, and he punts well, and he's a great field goal kicker, and certainly a real asset.
Does that also help you as a coach on the offense when you might be inside, say, the 40, 35, whatever, and you might be third and short or something, knowing that you have a kicker that's as accurate and strong as Noah? Does that help you put additional plays in your back pocket, knowing that you have a great kicker that's ready to take the field if you need him and you can't make it on that third down?
For sure. And, one of the things just that, strategy wise in high school football too is, if I kick a field goal in the NFL, and if I miss it, it goes back to to where you put the ball down for the field goal. So you lose 7 yards on that. And, if you attempt a long field goal, you might give the other team the ball on the 40, 45-yard line. And in college football, it goes back to where the ball was snapped. But in high school football, it's considered a scrimmage kick. So if that ball goes down and rolls into the end zone, and you miss the field goal, you end up giving the other team the ball on the 20. So it allows you to be much more aggressive when you call a field goal, when you have a really good kicker like Noah Ash who can do it. It does change, your thought process. If you got a guy that has a really good shot to make that long field goal, but even if he misses it, you're still not giving up that much of field position. That's an advantage for us. So, but he makes way more than he misses, for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah. Well, last question for you, Coach. Your schedule is no joke once again. Your district includes teams like Beachside and Fleming Island and Middleburg, and you come right out of the gate with games against Nice and Bartram right before you roll into your first game against Beachside. Last year, you and your staff, I always said this on the podcast, you did a great job of keeping the team focused week by week. Does this group seem to have that same business-like mentality that we saw last season?
I think so. I really do. Anybody can come in and do it for 2 or 3 days and be up and down, and like we really try to stress just the next play mentality, man. Forget whatever happened on the last play, and forget what happened on the last week, and forget what happened in the last game. We've got to continue to drive on, and I'm very proud of that with our team. And I think it really speaks well of our kids. I think it also speaks very, very well about our coordinators, Joe Conroy and Carl Smeltzer. They've been in this game a long, long time. And just the level hand that they have on practice and talking to our kids, we never get too high and we never get too low. I'm proud of that for our kids and our program that they come every week and give it their best effort, no matter what happened the week before.
Coach, I'd like to thank you for coming on this morning, taking some time. I know you're about to start off practice very soon in the coming weeks. So, again, best of luck to the Sharks this season. I look forward to covering you. And, again, all the best.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you.
And the Sharks kick it off on Friday, August 22nd at 7 o'clock against the Nice Panthers at the Tank. And then the following week, they will also be at home as they host the Bears from Bartram Trail. Once again, kickoff is at 7 o'clock on Friday, August 29th. Thank you to Coach Steve Price for joining us here to talk Sharks football. And also thank you for tuning in and listening to the 32081.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.